Hey there and welcome back to Sims Sunday. My name is Pete and this is the series where we try to complete The Sims 3. After the last episode was relatively good in terms of completion, we have our sights set on new goals in this one. And while Pete lets his son Patrick out of the crib and then goes to the fridge to eat something, Patrick will then make his way over to the potty chair. With Pete, we are still working on the Handiness skill, we still haven't completed the Plumber skill challenge, and with Ayesha we still need to work our way up in the medical career. Patrick's goal for the moment is of course growing up, and with Paul we are on a good way to master the painting and writing skills, so we don't have too much pressure at the moment. Also, thanks to the fact that Pete now only has 1 day of work per week, we can have him pretty much fulfill the role of babysitter and cleaner, because quite frankly I don't know how long he's going to live, and he doesn't have too much to do at the moment. After a bit of cleanup in the kitchen, Pete can then feed Patrick and then go outside and finally take care of those 2 broken sinks. In the meantime, Ayesha has completed reading her research, that factors into her work performance, and she will now also grab a bite to eat. Then Pete completes the repairs on the first sink, only 1 more to go until we have the plumber challenge. And here we go, 10 plumbing objects repaired, Pete completes the plumber skill challenge. To reward himself, he can now clean out the potty chair while Ayesha changes Patrick's diapers, and then puts her son back to sleep. And with her carpool arriving in just a few moments, we can already tell her to go to work next. She will, of course as usual, work hard for the promotion. Meanwhile, in no great hurry, Paul has finally awoken, and before it's time to hop on the school bus, I think it's time for a quick breakfast. And because it's one of his many days off, which is good in terms of free time but very bad in terms of money, Pete will now work from home to make some extra cash. Of course, after breakfast we also need to clean up, and then the dishwasher breaks. Well, actually that's not a bad thing, Paul can go to school as usual. And Pete can promptly start the repair work. We earn a bit of money from our home office, we can also sell both of the repaired sinks now. And just a few moments later, Pete has already repaired the dishwasher. That is already the 4th electrical object repaired, so we, well, only need 6 more. But in this case I do have an ace up my sleeve, you will likely see that in the next episode. For now, Pete can also clean up the mess around the dishwasher, and then get back to working from home. I also purchased a small trash can for the kitchen area, so that maybe we can clean out the potty chair there instead of having to walk outside all the time. Jumping ahead, Pete is getting a bit stressed out from work, even if it is at home, so we will gladly accept 1,200 simoleons and have him play computer games. A few minutes later, Paul's school day is over. Despite doing his homework, well, semi-regularly at best, Paul is currently doing quite well, and so back at home it's not homework, but another painting that we start. That also fulfills his wish to paint and gives us 375 lifetime happiness points. A while later, his painting skill improves to level 7, which means he can now also paint portraits, but we will stick to the small paintings for the moment. Then Pete's fun bar has filled to the maximum and Patrick needs our attention, so we can have Pete stop playing games and instead take care of his son. Just then we get presented with an opportunity, playing chess in exchange for money should we win. That sounds good and we'll take that. Before we start, however, we can have Pete and Patrick practice talking. Pete finishes another painting, this one valued at just under 100 simoleons, and he has the wish to decorate the home with 5 of those, so let's put this one up on the wall and then have him grab something to eat. He is getting quite hungry and, well, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to start a new activity now. Then we can jump over to Ayesha. We can see her performance meter has already filled, so we get 720 simoleons for the day and a well-deserved promotion on top. Back at home, Pete is still busy teaching Patrick how to talk, a well-fed Paul now continues to work on his book, and Ayesha can pay the bills.
Zambu de neb neb? Oh, nuba darv? Oh, Fredzy Gerb! Ubi gua!
Then she can begin to read into her research for the day, while Pete and Patrick bring the learning session to an end, with Patrick growing steadily hungrier.
Shuggle-ba-doo.
With his son taken care of, Pete can now go to the theater to tackle his opportunity. He has never played chess before, but he is logic level 10, so hopefully he will win us some cash. No longer hungry, Patrick now once again makes his way over to the potty chair. And with that business taken care of, he can now play the xylophone for a bit. Shortly after, Ayesha finishes reading. That should help her work performance tomorrow, and she can now clean up. Not only the remains from various cook meals, but also the mess in the potty chair. And then, with a bit of time left today, I think we can use the collection helper to our advantage and go on another collection spree. While Ayesha's on her way, we can also clean up her inventory a bit and sell all of the space rocks we have collected so far. I don't think we will explore collecting to the fullest with her, so we might as well make some money out of it. Then Ayesha begins her collecting tour on the beach with another large space rock. We switch back home but can see we get transferred 2,500 simoleons for Pete, who is over at the theater and has apparently successfully played a round of chess. Back at home, he can now go for a quick shower to get his hygiene bar back up, then put Patrick back in his crib, and then go to bed himself. And just at that moment Paul finishes his book, we get a royalty payment, a broken computer, and on top of that 2,500 lifetime happiness points. And with his duties done for the day, apart from his homework of course, Paul can now also go to bed. And just a few moments later, Ayesha returns, and before she can go to sleep we get interrupted by an opportunity, and one that we will take at least for now. I'm not sure whether or not the effort is worth it in the end, but we can think about that tomorrow. For now, Ayesha can go to sleep, and we can skip ahead to the next morning. Well, not exactly the next morning, as Ayesha now has to get up and go to the hospital for an emergency. That is not a problem, however, as she is pretty well rested and her normal workday would begin at 7 PM in the evening, so we can use those few hours of extra work to get a work performance up and guarantee ourselves another promotion. And of course, Ayesha will work hard as usual. Just after Ayesha leaves, Paul is awake as well and he will start his day with a breakfast. And a few more moments later, we have Pete already busy feeding his son. Pete can now go and repair the computer. That should be electrical object number 5, so we're halfway through with those as well. Then Paul finishes his shower and Pete wraps up the repair work. Like I said, we are now halfway through on our way to the Electrician challenge, and that one is significantly easier to achieve than Plumber. Until the school bus arrives, Paul will stay outside and paint, Pete will work from home, and Patrick will use the potty chair. Then we can jump over to Ayesha, who finishes her extra shift at the hospital. We don't really earn a lot of money, but it gives our work performance a nice boost. Back at home, Patrick has finished his business with the potty chair, so Pete can now stop working from home, and the two of them can practice talking again. Then the school bus arrives and Paul will stop painting and leave for school. We will have him slack off because, well, he's doing quite alright so far, and it will also increase his fun bar, which then allows us to spend more time on writing before he stresses out. With Ayesha returning from her shift, she can get right back to work and clean out Patrick's potty chair. And while she is outside, she can also grab the mail. We received the book that Paul finished yesterday, and to get ahead in her job performance, Ayesha can now start working on her research. And then we can see Patrick and Pete have been successful. Patrick now knows how to talk and has learned all 3 essential toddler skills. However, all of that came at a price. Patrick is now pretty tired, so let's put him back in his crib. Pete can now go back to the repaired laptop and continue to work from home and make us some money, while Ayesha finishes her research journal, so she can now do a bit of cleanup. Then we can use the gems that we collected yesterday and send some of them away to be cut. We can also analyze a few more space rocks. and then make another investment. This time not in one of the local businesses, but we will straight up buy the property of Stony Falls. Both Pete and Ayesha, and maybe even Paul as well, I'm not sure, have the wish to own 7 venues. Right now we're at 5, and that will add one more to the list. And here we are, roughly 18,000 simoleons less, but we are now the owners of Stony Falls. We actually have a bit more liberty to interact with the lot than we have with the businesses, but we will get into that in one of the next episodes. For now, Ayesha can return home where Pete just finished working, and both of them can have a little fun. Now, while Pete and Ayesha have been busy, Paul's day at school has come to an end, so it's officially the weekend now for him, and he will also bring somebody home with him. Might be a chance to get to know one of his friends. Back at home, Ayesha will sleep again, so that she won't get tired during her late shift, and as usual these past few days, Pete will work from home. Then Paul returns and he will get straight to painting, completely ignoring the fact that he has a guest over. A short while later, Paul has finished his painting, but I suppose a meal is more important than some social interaction, so we will focus on that first. In the meantime, Pete wraps up his work from home, and he will now take Patrick to the library. However, let's first change Patrick's diaper, and then they can start another rapid skill learning session. While they are on their way, Pete has finished his microwave meal, and he can now finally spend some time with his guest. And just a few moments later, Pete and Patrick have reached the library, where Pete will now read one toddler skill book after the other to Patrick to give him a bit of a head start in life. We did the same thing with Paul, who actually needed the skills a bit more. Patrick does probably not need a single one of them, but we never know what life might throw at him. At home, Ayesha can now go to work again, this time however for a lot longer, but already with a little bit of a bonus in work performance. And of course, you know it, she will work hard. Using the Get to Know dialogue option in combination with the Observant lifetime reward, we can find out a lot about Paul's guest Norma, who apparently loves the outdoors, does not like to flirt, and is absent-minded. That is not necessarily the best set of traits, so I'll doubt she makes the list of potential marriage candidates, but it's good to know these things to plan ahead. For the moment, however, we can go back to painting. Back over at the library, Patrick is not exactly adding to the amusement of the people there. He's hungry and he lets everybody know, so I suppose we will have to oblige. Alright, now Paul has been fed, so the skill learning session can continue. Switching back to Paul, who has completed another painting, and just like the previous ones, let's decorate the home with it. Paul can then quickly bring out the trash before he starts another painting. And with squares are not triangles, Patrick completes the last remaining book. He is now well equipped for life as a child, so let's send both Pete and Patrick back home. Speaking of home, our painting machine Paul completes another painting, which we can then promptly put up on the wall and complete his wish to decorate the home with 5 paintings and receive 300 lifetime happiness points as a result. He now has the wish to decorate the home with at least 15 paintings. That is a bit of work before us still, but the reward is also quite nice. Paul is already asleep as Pete and Patrick return home, and while Pete grabs a late bite to eat, Paul can use the potty chair again. And then at 3 AM a jump over to Ayesha, who has finished her shift at the hospital, roughly 800 simoleons for the day, and on top of that, the promotion to gene therapist. We are now not too far away from level 10 in the medical career, but let's focus on one thing after the other. At home, Ayesha can prepare herself a quick microwave meal, while Pete puts Patrick back in his crib, and then cleans out the potty chair. Then, once Ayesha is finished eating, we can fulfill a wish for Pete, and that is to kiss his wife. Lovely, 300 lifetime happiness points for that, and I think it's now time for Pete to go to bed. and after doing a bit of cleanup, Ayesha will join him. And that's it for today's episode. Next time we will age Patrick up to a child and see what kind of surprises the weekend holds in store for our family. Until then, as usual, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.